and go to school, become a lawyer, become a doctor, become an engineer, we don't even see how important a farmer is and the kind of work that they do to allow us to be able to live every day. So changing that narrative, and I touched a bit on it when I talked about TVET. And we've done a study, but only in Kericho County. When you look at some of the courses that are focused on, you will have like hairdressing, mechanics, things that even the youth, they don't have the equipment within the institutions. And we're able to study quite a number. So there's also a disconnect in terms of how we view opportunities. TVETs or spaces where I said how county governments reach out to me in terms of how can we attract the youth to support the county government when it comes to agriculture. They have courses, they have even free seeds, they have platforms to allow them to be able to prosper, but youth are not seeing it as an opportunity. But there's an ongoing debate where there are youth who are actually taking sexy images, doing agriculture and farming, literally doing it. And also the translation of young people seeing themselves or seeing and highlighting young champions. I named 5 of them who are doing well in this space. We need to see more of them being highlighted in platforms there young people see them. Because right now, a young person, when they think of a farmer, it's not the young person. They'll see an old person who's struggling and who's doing it because it's a retirement plan. They're not seeing it as a way to be able to live off of and be able to have access to your basic needs. Okay. But another thing, the systems in place make it also difficult for youth to do agriculture. And I'm not just talking about the access, it's very expensive. And you know, we've talked here about how we view land and land ownership, and people are now moving toward leasing land. But as we see the growth of chamas and associations where people are supporting one another to be able to lease land and do this farming, I have watched my brother go from mangoes to tomatoes to chicken, all of them failing, but also, in a sense, is it really failing or he hasn't put the time into it to allow it to succeed? So even this fact that the information is not accessible and available for people to understand certain processes of farming and where you are. Is it going to be able to work for that particular crop that you're trying to work on? So I think that it has to be much more than get the young people in agriculture. Right now, young people are looking for opportunities and livelihood. If they see it in prostitution, they will be there. That's just the reality of it. Right now, people are just thinking about how to put food on the table. If they see it in agriculture, they will be there. Yeah. So if we can create platforms where it is seen and visible and tangible, you will find young people without having to use all forms and manners. They will come, flocking. But then, like I mentioned, there's several bills that are blocking young people. Because even something as easy as keeping bees. I have an aunt at Timau. She keeps bees for fun and honey. She gives to her family. Her doing that, she's not allowed to. Because you have to have a license to do that. Yeah. So even when people have the passion to do this, we even make it hard. And then the government says it's because they're using pesticides that are affecting people because of the residues. But if that's the case, then why don't we work on the pesticides and have them safer for people to use and to be able to have fun doing it? Because as much as we talk about now agriculture and access to it, there are also a lot of holes that exist. And I think it starts with the narrative and changing mindsets, 1. And number 2, young people seeing it as an opportunity, but for them to see it, it has to be visible.
Awareness is needed. And perhaps just briefly, talk to us about training a tree while still young. You mentioned the advent of CBC and how important perhaps it is to change the perception. As you do that equally, you raised an issue about those who are the low cadres of society. How do we get the information to them perceived that they don't have these technological advances in terms of smartphones and all that? How do we get information to them in order to, change the perception?
There are people who are utilizing USSDs. But USSDs, it's expensive in terms of just using text messages to ask questions. Yeah. So you don't have to have a smartphone to do that. You can have a Mulikamuzi. But then there are also people who, they are farming in creative ways. I see it in Gorogocho, using sacks. I see it in Kibra, using bottles.
You
I see
mentioned
them, people
hydroponics
using
as well.
walls.
Yeah.
So the ideas are there. It's just the awareness that is lacking. And there are young people who want to be involved in these platforms and these processes. But like I said, it's not encouraged, and we don't see it as success. And frankly speaking, also social media has speed up how we view success, because you're just taking photos of how you're succeeding in life. And so nobody wants to take photos of them trying to plow a land in shorts and mud.
Okay, well, those are the modern day advances we have to deal with. But crossing over to you, Tumaloto, and I'd like to forward that question that was raised by the lovely lady right there in terms of cash transfers. And this was sort of a change, a shift in narrative by the government in terms of not giving food as such, but going for cash transfer programs. Is this beneficial? And she raised an important issue on the impact of these cash transfers. Do they use the money to buy food, yet you might have children who need to go to school? School fees is an issue, and we well know the adverse economic effects of COVID-19 as well. How do cash transfers work, perhaps?
Okay, thank you. Cash transfer, let me just take a single household, one household. This household might have 20 goats or 20 goats and sheep. Let's say probably 10 goats, 10 sheep.
Yeah.
Then that cash transfer, either of 3,000 shillings or 4,000 shillings, will help this household in order this animal to mature, because they will get the food stuff. I don't know whether I'm answering your question.
So you use the money to buy food stuff.
Yes,
okay.
But instead of selling this animal, which is supposed to be sold after 6 months or 10 months for 3,000 shillings, it helps them to have an alternative, because there are two things here. Cash transfer is an alternative income and also saving on their animal productivity increases the food on the table for that particular house for a particular time, which leads there's some families who have been surviving on that, and then also increase the number of livestock. That's where I come from.
Okay. Well, I hope your question has been answered. Well, she's shaking her head. Perhaps you can give her a mic. Why not?
I think she was talking of safety.
Of saving.
Safety, yeah.
On safety.
Food safety.
Okay, let's just get her mic kindly.
So my question was on food safety.
On food safety.
Yeah, not only on them but on production, everything. Are we informing the consumers, even us who are here? Are we aware of the food safety or what we consume?
Okay.
I think the madam
definitely, matters nutrition. You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Jesse and Irene. I know food safety is actually one of the biggest challenge we have in the country. But when you look at the food safety and look at the government organs, it cuts across many sectors. So we have Ministry of Health, which is mandated by the executive in terms of food safety, but also agriculture, starting from the seed all the way to the time the food comes on the table, is also has a role in food safety. And veterinary also, because the meat we are eating and all that. So one of the biggest challenge as a government we have been having is the coordination of all these different players. And therefore, what is happening now is that all the stakeholders, those ministries that are concerned with food safety, have come up with a national food safety policy. It's still in draft. And in order to have a very good coordination, there's a proposed food safety coordination bill. So we are expecting that once these are put in force, then the issue of food safety will be assured. When we get that food safety coordination authority, which is proposed in that bill, which we already did the public participation, then we can be able to handle the issue of food safety, such as aflatoxin, such as food vegetables that are high in pesticide residues. We'll be able to handle that. Allow me just then to comment on the issue of what are we doing to make maybe food and nutrition or agriculture sexy. I will talk from the point of Minister of Health and Nutrition, together with the Minister of Education. We have seen that we can't wait for children to mature, and that's the time we are talking about food and nutrition. So what have we done? In the revised school curriculum, we have been able to incorporate food and nutrition content, so that from grade 1 all the way to the top level of the basic education, children learn balanced diet. What food groups, what foods consist each of the food group, what we need to eat, how are they grown. That one is in the curriculum. And when we did include that in the curriculum, the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development advised us, because teachers may not know when I talk about the legume food group, they might not be able to know or to give the correct example. So we were challenged to come up with a teacher reference manual. And I'm happy to say we have already finished that, the the teacher's reference manual on food and nutrition content in the school curriculum. So once we are through with that and the KICD approves of it, we are going to sensitize some key teachers so that our children get the right knowledge, information in terms of food and nutrition. And with that, we're expecting as they grow, they'll be able to adapt very good feeding habits and practices, and it will reflect in their nutrition status. As I go to the last one on the cash transfer, yes, the resource poor households who are getting that cash transfer, even if it's 2,000 per month. But what we are working together with the Department of Social Protection is because we know most of the time when this money go, and I can quote even when we had a session with the PS Social Protection, it is that some of this money is not used, very well by the beneficiary. And we are starting with, of course, the nutrition status of a population is reflected by the nutrition status of the children. So our children become a focus for us from Ministry of Health, and therefore through a project we are calling Kenya Social and Economic Inclusion Project, we have a sub-component called Nutrition Improvement through Cash and Health Education. And in this project, which is targeting 5 counties of Kitui, Turkana, Kilifi, Marsabit, and West Pokot, those are counties with high prevalence of malnutrition. So when they get this cash transfer of 2,000, if a household has one child of under 2 years,
okay,
or a pregnant woman or lactating, they are topped up with 500 shillings. And this 500 shillings specifically is for the good food or nutritious food that will go to the target beneficiary. So that they see why these young children need to eat nutritious diet before the age of 2. Because it's very sad that as a country, there's what we call, people used to call it weaning food, but now we call it complementary. When a child is after 6 months, they're introduced to food, which we call complementary food. So we did, when Kenya Demographic Health Survey of 2014 was done, it's only 22% of our children who get minimum acceptable diet. And that then can reflect to the prevalence of malnutrition. So a lot of it is being done in terms of linking to the other sector, so that we sort of slay this dragon of malnutrition together once and for all. Thank
Okay,
you very much.
well, so there's a lot of work in the works. Oh, okay, surely.
Okay, just adding on in a very simple summary on safety. Normally, it is the traceability, where you get this food, where you get the food from, is the food, I mean the safety of that food, the branding. Let's say animals from that county is also always good with good meat, I mean good with good carcasses of sweet meats. When you put in fridges, this meat will not go bad or can stay even for 24 hours without putting in, not putting in fridges and so forth. So it's a matter of the traceability in which butchery I'm buying the meat from or the brand. Yeah, I just wanted to make that summary in those 2 words.
Okay, well, thank you. Tumal definitely bringing the point home. And I think that marks the end of the discussion right here with the panelists. So kindly, let's give them a round of applause. I think they've done a good job so far. And thank you so much for your contributions, each and every one of you. We just want to quickly shift to the next part of this particular show, and we'll get to be ushered in by Kelvin Shingles. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. And Jesse Rogers, your facilitation has been fantastic. I think there's a lot of deliberations that have happened this morning, a lot of action that needs to be put into place as well. And I really appreciate where the discussion has been led to. I think it's important to note at this point that Concern Worldwide, Veltunga Hilfer are part of the Alliance 2015 consortia as well. And I'd like to offer the opportunity to Amina Abdullah to give her closing remarks as the regional director from Concern Worldwide. So Amina, as I prepare myself for the cutting of or the launching of the report itself, could you please come and give some closing remarks?
Thank you very much, Kevin, and good morning, everyone. My sincere appreciation to the panelists. Okay. My sincere appreciation to the panelists and participants for such an engaging discussion. The issue of hunger and right now the drought is not something that just affects the 23 counties that the CS had talked about yesterday and the 2.5, close to 3 million Kenyans. I think most of us, if not all of us, at some point had